Hi, I'm Joyce Polino Crane. I'm the news director here at WestfordCAT. I'm sitting with Senator Ed Kennedy, a Lowell Democrat, visiting here in the studio today. Nice to see you, Senator.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, Joyce.
So we want to talk a little bit about what you've been up to in recent months, and you're sitting on a number of committees. Do you want to give us an outline of what you're sitting on?
Sure. I'm the chairman of the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Committee, and the vice chairman for community development, and then I also sit on municipalities, on elder affairs, election laws, and the environment. And I don't think I've left any out, but being the chairman of Arts, Culture, and Tourism also puts me on a commission that was created in July. That's a restaurant commission, looking at ways to improve and enhance the restaurant industry in Massachusetts. So we've had meetings all over the Commonwealth, and we'll continue to have meetings for probably about the next month. We've had, we most recently had a meeting in Lowell that was very well attended. Several restaurant owners from the area were there, as so was the culinary arts class from Middlesex Community College. We held it in Lowell at Middlesex Community College.
So what's that mean to improve restaurants? I think our restaurants are terrific.
Well, so do I, but there are issues that they have. There are some restaurants that are concerned about the $15 minimum wage and how that's going to affect them. Okay. Also, just getting help in this economy has been difficult for some people, and you've got enrollments down at several culinary schools, and so that's an issue for them. But it's a wide variety of issues. There was one restaurant owner from Tingsboro that was at the last meeting, and they were, I don't know if you've seen when you're on the interstate, sometimes it'll say, exit 32 has, these restaurants and maybe a couple of gas stations. Yes. Well, if you go up Route 3 heading towards New Hampshire, while you're still in Massachusetts, they will advertise New Hampshire restaurants. And so this restaurant owner thought that they should be advertising Massachusetts restaurants, which I agree with. I'm not sure that if the signs were in New Hampshire that they would be advertising Massachusetts restaurants. So I think that they're on the kiosk now, but it took them a long time to get on.
Well, so that's interesting. So what's the next step for this?
Well, we'll take as much information as we get from throughout, and then come up. Then there'll be a report that will be written and submitted, and then hopefully something will be done with the report, and it won't just be put on a shelf. One of the things that restaurant owners complained about or were concerned about was the regulations that are required, and there's a lot of regulations that restaurants are required to comply with. And if you have multiple restaurants in different communities, the requirements might be different in each community.
Oh, really?
So it's hard to keep track of all of it and the deadlines and when those licenses and permits expire and so forth. So there's quite a bit, which, when I first started on the commission, I said the same thing as you, like, what are they going to do? The restaurant industry is fine, but it is a thriving industry that employs a lot of people, and it is a big chunk of the Massachusetts economy. But there are improvements that, through these hearings, I've learned that there are improvements that could be made to the industry that would probably make it better for restaurant owners across the Commonwealth.
Speaking of restaurants, it just came to mind, there is empty space at the Westford Market, what's it called, the plaza where Whole Foods is. And there's two restaurants that are supposed to be coming in, and they're waiting for their liquor licenses. Yeah. Do you know anything about that?
I know that when you get your liquor license, I think you need local approval, but then you also need state approval from the ABC, and so sometimes that can take a little while, and everybody has to be vetted before you get that. So all of that can take some time, but that's the type of thing that maybe could be streamlined somewhat so that it would be done a little quicker. And also, too, there are, right now, for many communities, it requires that you go to town hall, but it's for some of it is for things that probably could just be done online. you know, rather than to have to go down to town hall. And which you think, well, how troublesome is it to go to town hall? Well, not so much, but if you're going there several times and you're going to several different town halls because you have several restaurants, then it can get, it just could be made easier, I think. So that's one of the extra things that I'm doing by virtue of being on the committee that I chair. And the House chair is also serves on that. Representative McMurtry from Dedham, he also serves on that commission as well. But we've got, you know, this past Wednesday was Joint Rule 10 day, so a lot of the legislation that, a lot of the bills that were filed, if they weren't acted upon by the committee, those bills are have died for this session. But I've got several bills that are still in the pipeline that I'm looking to push forward as the session continues.
What's your number one bill that you want to push forward?
I think probably one of the ones that I'm interested in is mattress recycling.
Yeah.
Mattress recycling is a much bigger deal than what you may think. And so right now there's, you know, in certain pockets throughout the Commonwealth, there is some mattress recycling that's done by private nonprofits. For instance, UTEC does it in the Merrimack Valley in several communities.
UTEC stands for University?
United Teens. I don't know. You caught me on that one. I'm not sure.
But
UTEC is a youth group, and it's for youth that have had, you know, a trouble upbringing, and you know, it's trying to get them back on track, and that's basically what they do. And I think that they do a real good job of it, and they're well thought of. But one of the things that that they did along those lines is to start recycling mattresses. So UTEC they'll have their kids. Some of them are in their early 20s. I don't know if I should be calling them kids, but anyways, they'll pick up the mattress curbside. You just put the mattress out, and they'll take it, bring it to their factory, which is in Lawrence, and then recycle it. And in 1 year, they took 20,000 mattresses, and it was about, I think, about 50 tons of metal, and over 100 tons of wood, and many tons of foam as well.
Is there a market for all those items?
Well, there is a market for all those items, but also the Commonwealth is looking at just banning mattresses altogether from landfills, which would then mean that you would have to have your mattress be recycled. And so that could end up being a big industry. But that's all, you know, that is in terms of the environment. You know, that's a lot of mattresses in landfills when you think about it.
Yes.
It's, you know, and just UTEC did 20,000 in 1 year.
That's remarkable.
So it really is. So that's one piece that, you know, I'm trying to push forward so that we could do that in other areas besides just the Merrimack Valley. And I think that would be a good thing if we can do that. There's also, I also have a public safety piece that has to do really with Lowell, but it's for every community. And in Lowell, for over a 5-year period, which is 60 months, we've had 96 shootings where people will come by and just randomly shoot at, it's not so random, I mean, they know what house they're shooting at, but they'll shoot at a house.
That is just remarkable to learn.
It is remarkable, and it's really bad. And it, you know, so far it hasn't happened, but sooner or later, we're going to get to a point where one of those bullets is going to go through a window and hurt a child.
Yes.
Or an adult. It doesn't matter, but it's a bad thing.
It's a tragedy waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And the clock is ticking. It's going to happen sooner or later, just because the odds are in that favor. But right now, it's merely a misdemeanor to do that, because when the law was written, it was anticipated that just hunters would do that, and they would do that by mistake.
Yeah.
So if you're a careless hunter, it's a misdemeanor. It might be a $250 fine, and that's it.
But in Lowell,
this is
there's no hunting, is there?
There's no hunting in Lowell, and that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
These people are doing that to intimidate the people who live in that house.
Yes.
And so the legislation that I've filed would make it be a felony and would also have a 5-year penalty for doing that. And I think that it's warranted. And I'm sure Lowell's not the only place where that happens. I'm sure that there are other gateway cities across the Commonwealth where the same thing goes on.
Yes. Yeah, that's very concerning. Going back to food, though. You have another pending bill. Is it a pending bill or has it passed?
They haven't passed their pending, but they're out of committee with favorables. Okay. So they're on their way, but they still need a good amount of pushing if they're going to become law.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of bills that were filed regarding food. One is to change the labeling on food. When you buy food in the supermarket, there'll be a little sticker on there that will say "Best if sold by," and that's it. But then "Best if sold by," if it's past that date, the food's still good.
Yeah.
But you don't know how long it's good for.
Yeah.
So this would clarify that and simplify it so that everybody would understand, how long the food is good for. And there are 6 or 7 other states that already do this, and I think it would just help everybody if we could clarify that for everybody in the Commonwealth.
And then there's another part to this.
The other part is just making it be easier to save food. So you may have instances where you've got a restaurant throwing out food.
Yeah.
That's perfectly good, but nobody's but they're throwing it out. And right around the corner, there's a homeless person that needs that food.
Yes.
And they're not getting it, and the restaurant owner doesn't want to give them the food because there's liability factor involved. And so this would change the liability on the food and just make it be easier. I mean, we throw away a lot of food in this country, and there's other countries in other parts of the world where they're starving for food. So this would at least make it be that that we would throw away less than what we do now. So I think that would be I'm hopeful that piece can pass as well. And then also we've got even another piece of legislation which would allow for tax credits for small pieces of small farm pieces, say 2 acres or less, so that if you use that to have a community garden or something like that, there would be a tax credit involved with that.
That's nice.
And that should help promote that.
Yeah.
Right now in the Commonwealth, if you've got 10 acres or more, you can have your taxes deferred. And I think most people that have farmland or big tracts of land like that probably take advantage of that. But for less than that, and certainly for small parcels, there's nothing like that. So those are a few of the pieces that I've got cooking on the stove.
Yeah. And so some of that, I would imagine this would help people in Shirley, in the more rural areas that you oversee.
But it would be everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody would be able to take advantage of it. And then we've also got a couple of pieces aimed at student loan debt.
Oh, really?
Which is, the student loan debt is, and I think you're seeing a lot of states try to come up with solutions to student loan debt. Student loan debt is huge. It has a negative impact in our economy because you have young people that have incurred a lot of debt from colleges. They've got jobs, but they're not able to buy as big a house as maybe they would want because they can't afford it because of the debt from the student loans. I think it's one of the reasons why you see people getting married later than when they were before. And it just has overall negative impact. I do think that really the solution to student loan debt belongs in Washington and should come out of Washington, but it's not. And so I think that's why you see states, trying to come up with solutions to at least be helpful with the way that is.
The thing that I didn't think of this myself. I heard it on the radio, but someone was saying these kids owe up to like $200,000, $250,000. When they start having their own children, how are they going to save for their children's college education when they're still trying to pay off their own?
Right. And you've already got that. That already exists in Massachusetts, where you've got multi-generations of student loan debt, so that parents have student loan debt that they're still paying off, and then kids are incurring student loan debt that they're going to have to pay off. And so we really need a solution for it, but it doesn't look like a solution's going to come from Washington anytime soon.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens in November, we'll see.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
No.
Yet. What was I? Oh, you went to a breakfast. Was it yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning, I co-sponsored a breakfast for the Department of Mental Health Northeast region.
Yeah.
So, and that took place at the State House in the Hall of Flags. There were more than 200 people there, so it was very well attended. And then this morning, I was out in Groton at the Groton Library at a legislative breakfast that the librarians had in the area, including the librarian from the Fletcher Library. But,
Ellen Rainville?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very informative and a good thing to go to too. So you stay pretty busy. It's a busy job. Busier than I think probably what many people might think.
I can imagine. We should remind everyone what towns you serve.
My district includes Lowell and Westford. It includes Tingsboro and Dunstable, Pepperell and Groton.
Just such a diverse group of towns.
Well, it's a pretty eclectic. So Lowell would be an urban community. Obviously, I think of Westford as being suburban. I think of Tingsboro as being kind of suburban. Maybe it's a little bit of a hybrid. Yeah. And then Groton, but more Pepperell and Dunstable are rural, mm-hmm. really in nature. So, I belong to several caucuses that I joined as soon as I came into the Senate. But I belong to the Gateway Caucus for Gateway Cities Caucus, mm-hmm. and the Rural Caucus, and the Food Caucus, by the way. But I'm not sure that there are too many senators that belong to both of those caucuses. There is one, Eric Lesser, I think, out in Western Mass, and he's in both caucuses. But aside from he and I don't think anybody. I think if you're in the Gateway Cities Caucus, you're probably not in the Rural Caucus, and vice versa.
Yeah, other than your towns.
Yeah,
I get that. Are there any other pending bills, pending laws that you would like to mention?
I think we probably covered
everything.
Most of them, yeah. But there's a lot to go. We're coming into the budget season, and so as I did last year, what we'll do is we'll make inquiries with each of the town halls and the town managers to see what their needs are and whether or not we can be helpful when the budget's done. The governor has come out with his version of the budget. The House is due in April with their version, and then the Senate in May, and then it all gets squared away, hopefully before the 1st of July. But don't hold your breath. Last year it took quite a while.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
So that's fiscal 2021, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in addition to that, there will also be a transportation bond bill. That should come out in the spring as well, and that will be for a significant amount of money. The Commonwealth just does transportation bond bills probably about once every 5 years. So when it comes out, you have to take advantage of it. And really, what it is, it's not an appropriation. It's just the authority to be able to borrow for the Commonwealth to borrow money for different projects in different communities. Some of which might be very expensive.
So, like public transportation, or?
Yeah,
okay.
Public transportation, but bridges and roads and traffic improvements in different areas. Mm-hmm. That type of thing can all be. You can seek bond authority for all of those items, and that will be something that I anticipate will be later on in the spring.
We'll be watching.
Okay.
And you know what? If you want to come back and talk about that
I'd love
later,
to come back. Yeah.
We love having you.
Well, thank you. I love being here. It's always enjoyable.
So we just have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything you want to let the community know?
The one thing that I would want to let everybody know is that one of the things that I've been committed to doing is having office hours in every community in the district, and I've done that and will continue to do that. And I think the next time we'll be in Westford will be February 26th mm-hmm. at the Fletcher Library from 5 to 6:30. Okay. So anybody that has a special concern or something that they would rather talk to me in person rather than on the telephone, you know, please come by then. And it, you know, we're in Westford on the 26th, but that doesn't mean that if you live in Groton or you live in Pepperell or someplace else, that you can't still come to the Westford Library. Likewise, when we do office hours in those other communities, anybody from Westford is more than welcome to come by.
Good to know.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Senator, for coming to visit us today.
Thank you, Joyce. It's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. For WestfordCAT News, this is Joyce Polino Crane. See you around town.